Welcome and thank you for attending the State Board of Psychologist Examiners stakeholder meeting via webinar today. The date is July 17th, 2023, and the time is 10:01 a.m. Before we get started, we would like to introduce the staff members from the Division of Professions and Occupations that are present. My name is Darcy Magnuson, and I'm a regulatory analyst with the division. Also attending is Dimitri Kunin, Senior Program Director, Raina Sabarbaro-Gordon, Program Director of the Mental Health Boards, and Paula Martinez, Program Director of the Colorado Medical Board. As many of you have been to DORA stakeholder meetings before, we would like to reiterate the importance of your comments today. DORA makes decisions every day that may affect your life and your business, so your input is vital in the rulemaking process. Throughout this process, our goal is to create regulations that clarify and explain legislation, ensure minimum competency to enter and continue to practice, and provide only what is absolutely necessary for consumer protection without creating unnecessary barriers to the marketplace. Your input today will be part of the information that goes to the Psychology Board as the board considers adopting rules to implement Colorado House Bill 23-1071 concerning the authority of a licensed psychologist to prescribe psychotropic medication for the treatment of mental health disorders. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the Psychology and Medical Board's web pages by the close of business tomorrow. As this stakeholder meeting is held solely by webinar, please raise your hand using the hand icon if you would like to speak, and we will unmute your line so you will be heard by everyone. Or you can type your comment in the question section and we will read it aloud. Before we start taking comments, we ask that anyone providing comments, please state your name and the name of the organization that you represent, if any. Feel free to provide either general comments on the rule changes proposed new rules, or specific comments on the proposed language. Keep your comments limited to 3 to 5 minutes or less, and try not to repeat something that was already said. Stating you're in full agreement with someone else works just fine and will be noted. If you are using the audio through your computer, please remember to put any phones on vibrate or turn them off. And whether you are using computer or phone audio, try to keep background noises to a minimum when speaking. And before we start taking comments, so the draft rules are being shown on the screen. You can find all of the information about the rulemaking process and this particular rulemaking legislative implementation on the board's website under the Public Notices tab. So that's where you'll find this current version of the rules that's being shown. That's also where you'll find the written comments that we have received. We do update that link as we receive additional comments, so please check back to review those. And then you'll also find the recording from the stakeholder meeting that we had in June, as this is the second stakeholder meeting that we've had regarding this legislative implementation. And then you'll find information about upcoming meetings and the rulemaking hearing to give you an idea of the timeline in case you are new to this process and this particular legislative implementation. So as I mentioned, this is the second stakeholder meeting. All of the information that we receive prior to the board's meeting, the Psychology Board's meeting on August 4th, will be given to the board to review and discuss at that meeting. It's an open meeting for members of the public to attend, but members of the public will not be able to address the board at that meeting regarding the proposed new rules. But the board will decide whether to make any additional changes based on stakeholder feedback to the draft rule language. From there, then the rules and all of the stakeholder feedback and information will be taken to the medical board during its quarterly full board meeting, which is on August 17th. Again, that meeting is open to the public for members to listen to, but members of the public will not be able to address the board regarding the proposed changes. And then that feedback, consultation, collaboration with the medical board will be taken, provided to stakeholders and also given to the Psychology Board. And ultimately, the final step in this process is the rulemaking hearing that's scheduled for the Psychology Board on October 6th. So that's the timeline, and those are the next steps in this process, just so that everyone is aware and up to date on how we are doing and where we're at in that process. So with that, we will go ahead and take stakeholder feedback regarding the proposed new rules. So if you want to provide any comments, you can either raise your hand and I will unmute your line, or you can use the question and answer feature of the Zoom webinar, and we can read your written comments out loud for the recording. So I show one person who has a hand raised, and I'm not sure if it's from the audio check, but it's Jessica Hetrick-Cano. I have unmuted you, so we should be able to hear you. And that's Jessica Hetrick-Cano.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, that was just for the audio check. I don't have a question yet.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we will just wait and see if anyone has any feedback. I know the scrolling can be a little bit hard to follow, so I don't like to scroll, but that's why I mentioned that the rules are posted on the website in case you want to look at them that way. And while we wait to see if anyone wants to provide any comments today through the stakeholder meeting, we will continue to accept written comments, and the email address to send those written comments is Dora_DPO_rulemaking@state.co.us. And like I said, once we receive those comments, we'll acknowledge the receipt and then post them on the website for others to review. Okay, Jessica Hetrick-Cano, I'm not sure if I missed it or if it's outlined. Can practicum hours only be accrued after taking the PEP? Dimitri, do you know the answer to that?
I don't. That level of clarification, I don't believe exists unless another stakeholder is aware of it. It's a question, like if there's questions in general and stakeholder feedback, we'll take back to the board, obviously, and sometimes they're used and are valuable in determining rulemaking. But that specifically, I do not know.
And I'm gonna make your comment or add it into just as a comment here in the rules so that the board will see it. The board will get this recording, but sometimes it's easier when it's right there for them to discuss it during the meeting. So I think that that's a valid question. Hannah Pila, I have unmuted you.
Hello?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
we can.
I just wanted to respond to the question. I don't believe that is specified in the bill. And to my knowledge, programs are a little bit different on what they require as far as graduation requirements. I know from the program I am in, that is not a requirement. That's in New Mexico. So I just wanted to clarify that is, to my knowledge, that is not specifically stated whether the hours need to be before or after the PEP.
This is Leah Billington.
So I just want to address a few of the chat questions those come through. One individual has asked, can you post a link to this document? It's on the Board of Psychology webpage, available both as the document of draft rules, the bill, as well as prior commentary and feedback through the prior stakeholder meeting. This was mentioned earlier, so you'll be able to find that there. And then there's another question of, are these the draft rules the board will review, or will they be updated after stakeholder feedback? So these are the draft rules the board will review. And then the board has the option to take feedback and provide edits at their upcoming meeting in early August.
Thanks, Dimitri. I was on mute and saying a lot of things, so I'm glad you chimed in. And then Leah Billington, you have your hand raised. I didn't know if you wanted to speak. I was talking and was on mute. So if you have comments, we should be able to hear you if you unmute on your end.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, hi, good morning. This is Leah Billington with the Colorado Psychological Association. So I just wanted to make one comment on the peer review process. CPA does not feel that the progress notes need to be reviewed in the peer review section. And then my other comment is I wanted to make that in chat, but it said that my chat was disabled.
Yes, correct. Chat is disabled. You can use the Q&A if you want to write in a comment, and then we can read that out loud and copy and paste it into the draft.
Okay, thank you so much.
Can you just really quickly repeat what you said about the peer review so I can make sure to note it in here?
Certainly. That under peer review, that we do not feel that a requirement for the actual progress notes is necessary as long as all the other information is documented.
And you're with the CPA?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Thank you. And where to find this document. So it's on, I would drop in a link, but I'm not great at multitasking when I'm sharing my screen. It's on the board's website, the psychology board's website. If you just go to Dora's website and then under healthcare boards and programs, you can navigate down to psychology, and then it's in the public notices tab. Great, someone dropped it in. So you should be able to see it once I answer that live. Hopefully you can see it now. Mm-hmm. Okay, Hannah Pila, We should be able to hear you.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
I just wanted to clarify. So right now, when I'm looking at the draft, so there's sections A and B at the moment. So are we just doing comments then on those sections so far? I'm just trying to orient myself on the process for this.
Sure. So this is the draft rule language right now. If you have other comments that you want to see additional rule language added, you're welcome to provide that now. But as it stands, this is where the rules are. And Dimitri, you can, unless we get additional stakeholder feedback on additional rule language that's necessary, this is what will be presented to the board in August.
That's correct.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Am I still on here?
Yes, please.
So for feedback that the Colorado Psychological Association provided, is that something that you guys are still reviewing, or I'm just not sure what feedback to provide at this time? I helped with that feedback, so I don't want to repeat information that's already been provided to you guys.
You're welcome to repeat if you think that that would be helpful. But so what will happen at the meeting in August, the board's the decision maker, and so they'll look at the stakeholder feedback and decide at that point in time what additional changes, if any, should be made to the draft language. And then stakeholders will have a chance to weigh in on that after the board has made any changes at its meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Benita Tiagi, when will this rule be implemented? The scheduled hearing date is October 6th, and that's when the board will decide whether to adopt the rules. Leah Billington, does this version today of proposed rules incorporate the Colorado Psychological Association June 28th, 2023 drafting of proposed rules we consider important? Dimitri, do you want to talk about those at all?
So sure, just like with any other stakeholder feedback, the board hasn't had an opportunity to review and provide that input. They'll do that at their next meeting on August 4th. So that's an opportunity for the board to take into consideration those rules. If potentially prior to that meeting, there are some minor changes in the rules, the board will be presented with that, but they have full autonomy to review the rules as drafted, as well as any feedback, and make necessary changes as they can continue in these checkpoints of the process. So in short, to answer the question, any feedback that's been recently provided, even as recent as late June, it's going to be available for board review, but no specific implementation of any feedback has been made into draft rules.
Okay, any other comments or questions? We'll give it a few more minutes to see if anyone else wants to provide feedback. And if we don't have anyone else, then we'll wrap up. So we'll just wait and see. Okay, I'm not seeing any other raised hands. We'll continue to keep an eye out as I just finish up the last portion. Thank you again for your participation in today's meeting. As mentioned earlier, the stakeholder comments and program recommendations will be presented to the medical board on August 17th and the psychology board on August 4th. Please continue to submit written comments to Dora_DPO_rulemaking@state.co.us. And that concludes the stakeholder meeting. And we are going to end the webinar now.